First question, what in your practice do you do, but may feel silly or embarrassed about doing, i.e. casting a circle in front of someone? Well, oddly enough, I have done this, and it is, I don't know if I necessarily feel silly or embarrassed, but when I forget the words when I'm doing the circle, or they don't quite come to me very quickly, I feel a little embarrassed. I think maybe you might be saying like people who aren't Wiccan, or maybe who aren't a witch, or who aren't pagans or pagan friendly, who might be observing this. And yes, if I cast a circle and I know that there's people who are not pagan minded around me, then yes, then I do feel a little silly or embarrassed. But usually when I'm in ritual and I'm casting a circle, I'm just trying to concentrate on the circle. So I don't really have a lot of time for extraneous emotions to take over. I just kind of go through the motions and just do it. Second question, do you feel you are a witch if you don't cast spells, cast circles, or doing something tangible or able to be seen with you workings? Conceivably, I'm sure that there are witches who claim to be witches who don't cast spells or cast circles or do tangible things or workings, and that's conceivable. So yes, I'm sure there possibly are. I didn't realize how diverse thought and ideas are in paganism until I came onto YouTube, and I just found out there's all kinds of ideas, all kinds of different theories, and there's all kinds of stuff. So whatever. If you want to do this or you want to do that, go ahead and do it. As for myself, there's a reason why I do everything that I do, and it works for me, and so I do it. So, do you have to be a witch and cast spells, cast circles? Again, it's subjective. But let me put it this way. If you claim to be an auto mechanic, and I take my car to be fixed by you, and you've never fixed a car, I'm going to take it to another mechanic. Number 3, can you be a witch in feeling, in thought, and in education and not do spell work? That ties in with the second question in my mind. I think that yes, you can be a witch in feeling, yes, you can be a witch in thought, and yes, you can be a witch in education and not do spell. I don't know if spell work is contingent upon those other 3 things or if that's a separate topic. But I don't know any requirement or a test that you have to pass or anything that's absolutely required in order to carry the title of witch. If there is something like that, I'm not aware of it. I think most people they identify with it. There's a reason why they feel that they are a witch, and they're drawn to it, and that's what they call themselves. And I don't know. I'm not in any kind of a position to judge who is and who is not a witch. Now, if you are a witch who feels like they're a witch, and they have thoughts that they think that they're a witch, and they're educated, meaning that they've read at least a couple of books on witchcraft, and they don't do spell work, again, I guess that is conceivable, but again, I'm going to go back to the auto mechanic analogy. If you're an auto mechanic, I'm going to expect you to know how to fix a car. If you call yourself an auto mechanic, and if you've never fixed a car, why are you calling yourself an auto mechanic? That doesn't make any sense. Number 4, what is something you have done in your practice that you feel ashamed about or bad about, and why? I think hexing and cursing is just, it's like this go-to thing. You know, if you have a toolbox and you have like 3 tools in there, then everything that you approach is going to be addressed with those 3 tools. And there are other ways of getting what you want done without resorting to those 3 tools. As for early on, yes, I did do something which was a hex and a curse. But I did do this hex, and there was an effect from it, and it is not exactly the effect that I thought was going to come about, and later I regretted it. So, yes, I was not ashamed, but I did feel bad about it, and I felt that it could have been achieved in a different way. But I was young and naive and did not have much experience, and it was one of my main tools, and so I used it, and later on I discovered that it was probably not the best way to go about fixing that particular situation. Number 5, have you ever felt disingenuous about your practice, i.e. acting in a way you feel others expect you to act, though you don't resonate with it? Yes, I have on several occasions felt that my practice was disingenuous. I don't feel that I have to act a certain way to be accepted by other people. So, yeah, I don't know. I have felt that my practice was disingenuous. I have questioned my practice. But I've never felt like I had to put on any kind of an act or dress a certain way or speak a certain way or do certain things. I've never felt that there was a certain requirement for me to do that. I mean, I'm a pretty square-looking person, so I think some people may think that I'm, like I'm just some guy who gets on YouTube and talks about Wicca, and I don't have any experience with it. And the truth of the matter is, I have quite a bit of experience with it, at least enough to make me feel like I'm qualified enough to go on YouTube in front of the entire world and talk about a particular subject and not be constantly assaulted by people saying, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about that. I have yet to experience being corrected in that way, so I guess I'm getting something right. Let's see, okay, number 6. Where does metaphysics and your craft cross and separate? As for in my daily life, I think it crosses all the time. It's intermingled in there. Number 7. Do you feel deity has to be a real entity, or can it be symbolic? But I feel that all deity is symbolic of things, real things, tangible things. And I think that that is how we got the concept of deity. Deity is symbolic of that particular energy or that aspect. For example, the idea of death being a physical, or a being that is dressed in black and carries a scythe going around reaping the souls of the living who have passed over. This entity could be considered a deity, but it is symbolic for death. When we die, this is a symbol of death, is the Grim Reaper. Hope that answers that question. Number 8, do you truly believe you can be an atheist, Christian, Muslim, some other faith, and be a witch too? I don't think you have. I think atheist is not in those, because in order to be a Christian or a Muslim or some other faiths, you have to have a faith. And my understanding of atheism is that it is a non-faith. It's a default. You don't believe anything. So I would say you could be an atheistic witch, absolutely. And I've done videos on this before, so I don't really need to rehash it, but if you claim to be a Christian or Muslim or whatever faith and be a witch, if you can somehow get these two, if you can somehow get your particular belief in your faith to be able to adopt your, I guess you would be a witch practice. So you wouldn't have a belief around it, but you would have a witch practice. and you can somehow in your mind and in your community and in your life force those things together, then yes, you could do that. I don't see any reason why you couldn't believe it. Do you truly believe you can be an atheist, Christian, Muslim, some other faith, and be a witch too? I don't think you could be a Christian or a Muslim and be a witch, but that's just my personal opinion. Apparently there are people out there who make this happen, so it works for them, so whatever. It works for them. Number 9, do you ever feel insecure or unsure or even scared of the spell work? That's a very good question. I would say yes. Now, I've been practicing for quite some time, and I have seen the effects of my spell work happen. I have even seen the effects of my intention without going through the motions of actually creating the space to manifest, to make something happen. I have seen it happen by mere thought. So this, when I first started thinking about this, it kind of spooked me a little bit. It made me feel a little uncomfortable because I thought, what happens if I think something or I cause something to happen that I did not mean to happen, and it happens? And it was kind of like a little anxiety I had for quite some time about manifesting, causing change to occur without my intended will, but with my subconscious will, or feeling like I was going to make something happen that I didn't mean to happen. So, yes, I have felt that. Number 10, do you ever put yourself to a standard in your craft that you feel you may never obtain? A lot of what we do in the occult and pagan and magic and Wicca and witchcraft is subjective, meaning that it is just what we believe or how we perceive things, and there's no real way to measure it. You can't put it on a scale or put it against a ruler, or you can't measure it against anything because there's no standard of weight, or there's no standard of measurement for it. But when it comes to why we do the things that we do, why do I go clockwise, or why do I use a chalice, or why do I use an athame, or why do I use a wand, why do I do this on this certain day and not this day? Those things I need to understand why. And to me, this isn't being overly critical or overly thinking things. What it means is that the foundation upon which I build my practice is rock solid. Meaning that later on, if I question something or somebody questions me about it, I'll be able to draw a line and tell them exactly why this, and that is built upon this. If somebody asks me a question like, why do you use a chalice? And I go through and I don't know exactly why, it doesn't make my foundation rock solid. It makes it kind of loose and malleable. And to me, that's not how I want to do my practice. So, thank you, and blessed be.